Some films are hits. Some even become classics. And then there's a film like Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. This thing went way beyond being just a movie. It became a full-blown cultural institution that people have obsessed over for 3 decades. So let's get into it and figure out exactly why.
Okay, to really wrap your head around the scale of this, you have to start right here with this number. For more than 1,250 weeks, this movie has been playing without a break at the Martyr Theater in Mumbai. No, that's not a typo. It is by far the longest theatrical run in the history of Indian cinema. It's just mind-blowing.
So that begs the question, right? What was the secret sauce? How did a pretty straightforward 90s romance about 2 young people falling in love in Europe become so important, so deeply woven into the culture, not just in India, but all over the world? Now, on the surface, the story is your classic rom-com. You've got Raj and Simran, 2 young non-resident Indians who are living in London. They meet on a trip through Europe, they annoy each other at first, and then, you guessed it, they fall completely in love.
But here's where the movie's real genius kicks in. The main obstacle isn't some bad guy, it's tradition itself. See, Simran is already engaged to someone else, and her father is this incredibly stern man who believes in duty and honor above everything. So Raj's challenge isn't just to get the girl, he has to win over her entire family.
So what was the recipe for making this classic? Well, it all starts with one key ingredient: the person who is calling all the shots from behind the camera. Let me introduce you to Aditya Chopra. And get this, he was only 23 years old when he directed this. It was his very first film. And he wasn't just directing. He had this incredibly specific, almost iron-willed vision for what the movie had to be. Some people on set even said he was like a dictator. Even Karan Johar, who worked as an assistant director on the movie, saw this firsthand. He said of Chopra, "It's his way or the highway." This just shows you, even when he was up against seasoned industry pros who doubted him, this 23-year-old absolutely refused to back down. He knew exactly what he wanted. And his single biggest creative choice was to completely flip the traditional Bollywood love story on its head. Back then, the standard story was, parents say no, so the young lovers run away together. Elope. Simple. But Chopra's hero, Raj, refuses to do that. He actually insists on winning the family's respect and getting their official blessing. This wasn't a story about rebellion. It was a story about winning people over. But look, a director's vision is only one piece of the puzzle. To make a true phenomenon like this, you need a few more things to fall into place perfectly. You need the right stars, the right music, and you have to release it at exactly the right moment in history. And boy, did he find the perfect stars in Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. Their chemistry, it was just electric. It didn't feel like acting at all. It felt like you were watching a real friendship, a real connection. They had this playful, affectionate vibe that totally redefined what a romantic couple could be for an entire generation. The music in this film was another stroke of pure genius. It wasn't just a playlist of catchy songs to break things up. The score was literally woven into the story itself, and it was used to express all the things the characters couldn't say out loud and to push the plot forward in really smart ways. To really get how they did it, let's talk about a cool little film concept called the sonic flashback. All it means is when a piece of music you heard earlier in a movie gets played again later on to trigger a specific memory or feeling, not just for the character, but for us in the audience too. And DDLJ is an absolute masterclass in using this. For example, think of the song Khwabon Mein. It's Simran's happy, dreamy song about the man she hopes to meet. But later, when she finds out she's being forced into an arranged marriage, that exact same upbeat, happy melody plays while she's crying and tearing pages out of her diary. That sonic flashback creates this heartbreaking contrast between her dreams and her new, awful reality. So the final key ingredient was simply timing. DDLJ came out in 1995, which was just a few years after India's economy had opened up to the rest of the world. This created a whole new generation of prosperous non-resident Indians, or NRIs, who were living abroad but still felt this deep, powerful connection to their home country. And this movie, it spoke directly to that audience. It sent this incredibly powerful and reassuring message. It basically said, hey, it's okay. You can live a modern Western life, you can wear the clothes, enjoy the freedoms, and still be completely and totally Indian at your core. You could hold on to your traditional values, your sanskars, without having to compromise. So you put all these factors together, and you don't just get a hit movie, you get a blueprint for a whole new era of Bollywood filmmaking. But, well, a blueprint from 1995 is going to look pretty different today. So how does its legacy really hold up when we look at it now? The film's influence was immediate and massive. It proved that stories set in foreign countries could be huge successes. It showed studios that the NRI audience was a massive, untapped market. And it was even the very first Indian film to use a making-of documentary as a promotional tool. It literally changed the business of Bollywood. But, of course, a film that came out in 1995 is going to be seen differently today. I mean, the way we talk about things like gender, family, and consent has changed so much since then. For millions of its fans, the film is absolutely timeless. They see a story that completely redefined on-screen romance and celebrated important Indian values. But for a lot of modern critics, the film feels, well, pretty dated. They point to the story's patriarchal themes, some of Raja's behavior, which is pretty questionable, and the fact that Simran has almost zero control over her own life. This quote from the journalist Siddharth Bhatia really gets to the heart of that critique. He points out that the big, triumphant climax, that iconic Ja Simran Ja moment, isn't actually Simran making her own choice. It's her father giving her permission to go live her life. She's basically passed from one man's authority to another's. So what's the ultimate legacy of DDLJ? Is it a perfect nostalgic time capsule of the 90s? Or is it a beloved story that's just begging for a modern update with a stronger female perspective? The truth is, it's probably both. And that tension leaves us with one last big question to think about. Can we still love a piece of art, even when we've outgrown its message?